Did you know there's a canyon in South Dakota that never melts, even in 100-degree heat? Or that on the prairie, the ground occasionally sets itself on fire? How about the fact that South Dakota has a canyon where you can literally watch erosion happen in real time? Well, from underground laboratories hunting dark matter to hailstones the size of volleyballs, the Mount Rushmore state has more up its sleeve than presidential faces in bison herds. So buckle up, because we're about to hit you with 50 of the strangest facts about South Dakota that you probably never knew. Fact 50: the place where ice never dies. Even when summer temperatures soar past 100 degrees Fahrenheit on the prairie, Icebox Canyon in the northern Black Hills holds on to winter. Tucked into a narrow cleft with steep granite walls, the canyon traps cold air and blocks sunlight so effectively that patches of snow and ice persist year-round. The temperature inside the canyon can be 40 degrees cooler than the surrounding area, creating a microclimate that feels like never-ending late winter. It's essentially a microglacier, a leftover pocket from the last ice age that refuses to fully melt. Fact 49: the fastest temperature change on Earth. On January 22, 1943, Spearfish, South Dakota went from -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 45 degrees Fahrenheit in 2 minutes. A 49-degree rise, the fastest temperature change ever recorded. It was caused by a Chinook wind, a warm air current rushing down from the Black Hills. Windows shattered, engines cracked, and within hours, the warmth vanished as the cold returned. Nature flipped the switch, and an entire town felt the atmosphere shift in real time. Fact 48: Wind Cave's hidden geometry. Beneath the prairies of Wind Cave National Park lies one of the most complex cave systems on Earth. Over 160 miles of mapped tunnels twist through limestone and calcite. Yet explorers say it's just the beginning. Inside, the walls form a delicate honeycomb known as boxwork. Thin blades of calcite that create a geometric pattern found almost nowhere else on Earth. 95% of the world's known boxwork is here, locked in stone, a hidden network where geology has written its own architecture. Fact 47: Jewel Cave's crystalline depths. 30 miles west of Wind Cave, another world glows in darkness. Jewel Cave is the third longest cave system on Earth, with over 215 miles of explored passages and growing. Its walls are lined with calcite crystals that shimmer under light, giving the cave its name. Discovered in 1900 when prospectors heard air whistling through a hole in the rock, the cave was blasted open with dynamite. What they found wasn't gold, but a glittering underground empire still expanding under the Black Hills. Fact 46: the Black Hills' ancient origins. The Black Hills are among the oldest exposed rocks in North America, over 2 billion years old. To the Lakota, they are Paha Sapa, the hills that are black. Covered in thick ponderosa pine, they appear dark from a distance, rising from the plains like a forested island. The Lakota consider them the center of the world, the birthplace of life itself. A mountain range so old it predates most continents, still standing at the intersection of geology and faith. Fact 45: the geographic center of the United States. When Alaska and Hawaii joined the Union in 1959, the heart of America moved. The new geographic center landed near Belfouche, a quiet town in northwestern South Dakota. A granite marker and circular stone compass marked the spot. Simple, almost anonymous. But standing there means you're standing at the exact middle of the United States. A place as remote as it is symbolic, the balance point of a nation stretched between oceans. Fact 44: the Mammoth Graveyard of Hot Springs. In Hot Springs, South Dakota, an ancient sinkhole holds one of the most haunting sites of the Ice Age. Over 26,000 years ago, mammoths came here to drink from a warm spring and never escaped. The walls were too steep, the clay too slick. One by one, they fell in and died. More than 60 mammoths, along with bears, camels, and other extinct giants, lie exactly where they fell. Their bones remain in place, preserved in the mud of time. Today, visitors can watch paleontologists uncover them, piece by piece, the largest concentration of mammoth remains ever found. Fact 43: the plateau shaped by ice. Along South Dakota's eastern edge rises a huge plateau called the Coteau des Prairies, French for Hills of the Prairies. It climbs nearly 900 feet above the plains, carved by glaciers during the last ice age. When the ice retreated, it left behind a patchwork of lakes, ridges, and fertile soils that still define the region. Today, wind turbines stretch across its skyline, spinning where glaciers once flowed. It's a land born of ice, now harnessing the wind that replaced it. Fact 42. A gold mine turned physics lab. In the Black Hills town of Lead, one of the world's richest gold mines has become a laboratory for the universe's greatest mysteries. Nearly a mile underground, the Sanford Underground Research Facility occupies the old Homestake Mine, once the deepest in North America. The rock above acts as a shield against cosmic radiation, creating one of the quietest environments on Earth. Here, scientists search for dark matter, study neutrinos, and explore the particles that make up everything we know. A mine that once pulled 40 million ounces of gold from the Earth now searches for something a lot rarer: truth itself. Fact 41. The Badlands, where the Earth erodes itself. At Badlands National Park, erosion never stops. Wind and water carve the land at a rate of 1 inch per year, stripping away jagged ridges and sculpted spires faster than anywhere else in North America. In 500,000 years, this land will be gone, leveled to the prairie floor. But as it erodes, it reveals what it hides. Every storm, every flood uncovers fossils millions of years old. The Badlands are both an artist and an archaeologist, forever destroying, forever revealing. Fact 40. The Badlands Fossil Jackpot. The Badlands are one of Earth's richest windows into prehistory. Within their layered cliffs lies a fossil bed stretching back 30 million years, a record of the mammals that replaced the dinosaurs. Saber-toothed cats, three-toed horses, ancient camels, and enormous pig-like predators called entelodonts are all found here. Each stripe of rock marks a different climate era, turning the land into a timeline carved in stone. Heavy rains still wash away sediment and reveal new fossils each year. It's not just a park, it's a living excavation site where the past keeps resurfacing. Fact 39. The hidden sea beneath the hills. Beneath the Black Hills lies an ocean that never truly vanished. 350 million years ago, this region sat under a warm, shallow sea. The shells of ancient marine life settled for eons, compacting into thick layers of limestone. When the sea withdrew and the land rose, rainwater carved that limestone into the massive cave systems we see today: Wind Cave, Jewel Cave, and countless others. The same layer, known as the Madison Aquifer, still carries water under the hills. A fossil ocean still flowing through the rock it became. Fact 38. When the Badlands burned in water. The cliffs of the Badlands are more than color, they're chemistry. Bands of red, black, and gold trace back to ancient volcanic eruptions and forest fires that swept this land 30 million years ago. Each hue tells a story. Red from oxidized iron in dry heat, black from swamps and volcanic ash, yellow from sulfur-rich soil. This was once a subtropical forest, alive with rivers and wildlife. Now it's a scorched archive, layered evidence of a world that burned, flooded, and changed beyond recognition. Fact 37. The prairie that breathes fire. In spring, controlled or prescribed burns sweep across the Buffalo Gap National Grasslands to maintain the prairie ecosystem and prevent woody plant intrusion. But under the surface, something stranger occasionally happens. Small blue flames pop up across the soil, igniting seemingly on their own. These ghostly fires result from natural methane seeps where decaying organic matter and shallow coal seams release flammable gas that can ignite spontaneously, or from lightning strikes. This unique occurrence, which combines geology with prairie ecosystem, serves as a reminder that the Earth is still alive and well. Usually extinguished swiftly and without harm, the flames give the grasslands a surreal, scary appearance. Literal fire rising from the earth. Fact 36. The Badlands, training ground for the moon. In the 1960s, NASA found an unlikely place to train astronauts for space: South Dakota's Badlands. The park's eroded cliffs and barren formations look so much like early images of Mars that the agency used it as a field classroom. Apollo astronauts learned to identify rock layers, collect samples, and navigate alien terrain among the spires and canyons. Even today, planetary scientists return here to study erosion patterns similar to those found on Mars. Sometimes the best place to study another world is right here on ours. Fact 35. The pink gem of the Black Hills. South Dakota state mineral, rose quartz, forms in massive deposits throughout the Black Hills, some of the largest concentrations anywhere on Earth. This translucent pink stone gets its color from trace amounts of titanium or manganese trapped within the crystal structure. Since the 1880s, rose quartz from the Black Hills has been prized by jewelers and collectors all over the world due to its distinctive soft pink glow and outrageous clarity. Large specimens can weigh hundreds of pounds, and miners still extract the gemstone from pegmatite veins deep in the granite. Fact 34. The city built from stone trees. In the town of Lemon, one man turned fossils into architecture. During the Great Depression, rancher Ole Quammen spent years hauling tons of petrified wood from the surrounding Badlands. He built more than 100 structures, towers, arches, even castles, entirely from wood that had turned to stone over 120 million years ago. Each piece still carries the grain and rings of the trees it once was. Today, the petrified wood city stands as a surreal monument to time itself, a fossil forest rebuilt by human hands. Fact 33. The record-breaking hailstone. July 23, 2010, Vivian, South Dakota. A supercell thunderstorm tore across the plains and rewrote weather history. One hailstone fell measuring 8 inches across and weighing nearly 2 pounds, the largest ever recorded in the United States. The storm punched through roofs, shattered windshields, and that record-breaking hailstone, it left a 10-inch impact crater in the ground. Crops, cars, and summer itself obliterated in minutes. Today, that hailstone sits preserved in Colorado's National Center for Atmospheric Research, a frozen monument to the sky's fury. Fact 32. Where the prairie turns to ocean. 80 million years ago, South Dakota was ocean. The western interior seaway stretched from the Gulf to the Arctic Ocean, dividing North America in two. The rolling chalk bluffs and shale beds near the Missouri River are its remnants. Ancient coral reefs turned to stone. Farmers still plow up seashells, shark teeth, and marine fossils in the middle of wheat fields. A reminder that this land, now dry and windswept, was once sitting under 600 feet of salt water. Fact 31. The ridge that split a continent. Running like a wrinkled spine through central South Dakota, the Missouri Coteau marks the farthest advance of Ice Age glaciers. This huge ridge of glacial debris, moraines, hills, and jumbled rock, stretches for hundreds of miles and rises several hundred feet above the surrounding plains. From the air, it looks like a scar left by ancient ice. But this ridge does more than mark where glaciers stopped. It divides the continent's drainage systems. Water falling on its eastern slopes flow toward Hudson Bay. Water on the western side flows to the Gulf via the Missouri River. The Missouri Coteau literally splits the direction rivers flow, a continental divide created not by mountains, but by ice. Fact 30. America's hidden pole of inaccessibility. In northwest South Dakota, near the town of Allen, lies a point few people know exists. It's called the Continental Pole of Inaccessibility, the spot in North America farthest from any ocean. More than 1,000 miles from the nearest coastline, it marks the true center of the continent's isolation. There's no monument, no visitor sign, just open prairie stretching to every horizon. Stand here, and you're as inland as it's possible to be, surrounded by silence, distance, and sky. Fact 29. The Corn Palace literally made of corn. In Mitchell, South Dakota, there's a building unlike any other. An entire arena covered in corn. Every year, artists use more than 275,000 ears of multicolored corn to create massive murals on the outside. The designs change annually, blending corn with grains and native grasses to tell new stories across its walls. Built in 1892 to showcase the region's agricultural promise, the Corn Palace became a permanent landmark. Part art, part harvest, and part civic pride. Today, it's still used for basketball games and concerts. But outside, it's a living canvas of the prairie itself. Fact 28. Deadwood, the town that froze in time. The city of Deadwood is a time capsule from the American frontier. Founded in 1876 during the Black Hills Gold Rush, it grew overnight into a lawless mining camp filled with saloons, gambling halls, and legends like Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane. Hickok was famously shot here while playing poker, holding what became known as the Dead Man's Hand. Instead of modernizing, the town preserved its 19th century architecture. Brick storefronts, wooden sidewalks, and narrow streets frozen in place. Today, Deadwood stands as one of the few entire towns in America designated a National Historic Landmark, its Wild West facade still intact. Fact 27. Slim Buttes, Prairie Monuments. Ever seen a mountain just sitting by itself in the middle of nowhere? The Slim Buttes in northwestern South Dakota look like someone dropped a bunch of flat-top mesas onto the plains and forgot about them. But they're not volcanic, they're actually carved from layers of ancient sedimentary rock. Millions of years ago, this whole area was covered in sediment from inland seas and rivers. Over time, wind and water eroded the softer rock away, leaving behind these hard, resistant caps standing alone on the prairie. They're like nature's sculptures, slowly getting whittled down century by century. Fact 26. Lightning split quartzite. As crazy as it sounds, near Sioux Falls, the ground glows pink. But there's a cool reason. The Sioux quartzite, exposed throughout the region, is among the oldest rock in North America, over 1.6 billion years old. This transformed sandstone is harder than granite and was once used to build roads and buildings across the Midwest. But the quartzite has another claim to fame. It's known to fracture under lightning strikes. On rare summer nights when storms ignite the prairie, lightning can hit the quartzite and create fulgurites, glassy black tubes where sand melted and fused into lightning-shaped scars. Fact 25. The Hall of Records hidden behind Rushmore. Like a message to the future, behind the carved faces of Mount Rushmore, there's a secret most visitors never see. A sealed granite chamber called the Hall of Records. Sculptor Gutzon Borglum wanted it to be a vault for America's most important documents. Basically, a time capsule for future civilizations. He died before finishing it, but in 1998, they partially made his vision real by installing porcelain panels engraved with the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, and bios of the presidents and Borglum himself. The chamber is buried 70 feet behind Lincoln's head, sealed by a 1,200-pound granite capstone. You can only reach it by climbing the mountain. Fact 24. The cave with an endless wind. The Earth breathes at Wind Cave National Park. Kinda sounds obvious, right? But let us break it down. So a constant wind flows in and out of the cave's natural entrance, sometimes strong enough to blow off hats or ruffle hair. This phenomenon occurs because of the pressure differences between the massive cave system and the atmosphere above. When barometric pressure drops outside, air rushes out of the cave. When pressure rises, air flows back in. Wind Cave is one of the longest known caves in the world, with over 150 miles of map passages crammed into just 1 square mile of land under the Black Hills. It's a geological maze so dense and complex that explorers estimate only a fraction has been discovered, with potentially hundreds more miles waiting to be mapped. Fact 23. The Gravity Hill of South Dakota. At the Cosmos Mystery Area near Rapid City, the laws of physics start to bend. Balls roll uphill. Water appears to flow against gravity, and people standing in different spots seem to grow or shrink before your eyes. Scientists dismiss it as an optical illusion created by the tilted environment and sloped terrain that tricks the brain's senses of level. But visitors swear something stranger is happening, an actual gravitational anomaly that defies explanation. Whether it's clever architecture or genuine mystery, the cosmos has been baffling tourists since the 1950s. Fact 22. Pheasant capital of America. South Dakota releases millions of pheasants every year just so people can hunt them. During fall season, some counties have more pheasants than people, and the whole place sounds like a bird explosion. Small towns survive on the hunting crowd. Motels, diners, gun shops, all packed with hunters from across the country. Plot twist? The ring-necked pheasant isn't even native. It came from Asia in the 1880s. But South Dakota loved it so much they made it their whole personality and crowned themselves pheasant capital of the world. Fact 21. The Missouri River Reservoir Chain. Did you know that 4 massive reservoirs slice through South Dakota along the Missouri River? That's right. Owyhee, Sharp, Francis Case, and Lewis and Clark are sometimes called the South Dakota Great Lakes. Created by damming the river in the 1950s and 60s, these man-made lakes stretch more than 900 combined miles and form one of the largest reservoir systems in North America. Lake Owyhee alone covers 370,000 acres, making it one of the largest man-made lakes in the United States. The dams generate hydroelectric power, control flooding, and provide recreation. But their creation came at a cost, displacing Native American communities and flooding thousands of acres of farmland and prairie. Fact 20. When the prairie became a glacier graveyard. Ever wondered why parts of South Dakota look like someone took a giant ice cream scoop to the ground? Northeastern South Dakota is covered in thousands of circular lakes and ponds called prairie potholes. About 12,000 years ago, huge chunks of ice broke off retreating glaciers and got buried in sediment. When they finally melted, they left behind bowl-shaped dips that filled with water. These aren't just random puddles though. They're part of the prairie pothole region, one of North America's most important ecosystems. They store carbon, filter water, and give more than half of the continent's migratory waterfowl a place to nest. Every spring, millions of ducks, geese, and shorebirds show up to these ancient ice graves. Fact 19. The Black Hills Forest Island. Ecologists call the Black Hills a biological island. Why? Because it's an isolated ecosystem surrounded by a sea of prairie. Rising from the plains, the hills create their own microclimate with cooler temperatures and more precipitation than the surrounding grasslands. This allows them to support over 200 plant and animal species found nowhere else in the region, including ponderosa pine forests, mountain goats, and unique wildflowers. Step outside the Black Hills borders, and the ecosystem changes almost instantly from forest to open grassland. The meeting point of the plains and mountains is an unreal biotic boundary. The Black Hills are a remote haven, a cool green oasis in the middle of a sea of grass, for creatures acclimated to mountain life. Fact 18. The Pink Fortress Beneath the Hills. The Black Hills have a secret. They're built on a 1.8 billion-year-old slab of pink granite the size of a small state. This massive formation, the Harney Peak Granite Batholith, started as molten rock that cooled miles underground into crystalline chunks. Over billions of years, erosion peeled away everything on top, exposing the granite as today's rugged peaks, including Black Elk Peak, formerly Harney Peak, South Dakota's highest point at 7,242 feet. The pink color comes from feldspar minerals that shimmer in sunlight, giving the central Black Hills those rosy shades. This ancient batholith is basically the foundation holding up the entire Black Hills, a fortress of stone that's been sitting there for almost 2 billion years, outlasting pretty much everything. Fact 17. The Fairburn Agate. Did you know that collectors travel from around the world to hunt South Dakota state gemstone? These precious stones are called Fairburn agate, and they feature intricate, multicolored bands in vivid patterns of red, orange, pink, and white that form over millions of years as silica-rich water seeps through volcanic rock. Each Fairburn agate is unique, with bands that swirl and layer in hypnotic designs. They're found primarily in the grasslands surrounding the Black Hills, where you can stumble on fully fledged agate beds if you're lucky. These gems are weathered out of ancient sediments. Because of their rarity and beauty, a single exceptional Fairburn agate can sell for thousands of dollars. Fact 16. The Deadly Flood of Rapid City. Nearly every state in America has experienced a devastating flood, but this one is the deadliest. On the night of June 9, 1972, torrential rains dumped over 15 inches in 6 hours onto the Black Hills above Rapid City. Rapid Creek, normally a gentle stream, transformed into a churning wall of water carrying cars, buildings, and debris through the heart of the city. The flash flood killed 238 people and destroyed over 1,300 homes in one of the deadliest floods in U.S. history. Afterward, Rapid City prohibited rebuilding in the floodplain, creating the Greenway Park system that now runs along the creek. Fact 15. The River That Eats Stone. Deep in Spearfish Canyon, you'll find a rare glimpse of erosion happening in real time. Nature's hammer and chisel still actively sculpting. Here, a river is carving through 400 million years of Earth's history in fast forward. Spearfish Creek has created one of the fastest eroding canyons in North America, with limestone cliffs that crumble visibly year after year. The canyon's walls expose layers: red sandstone, white limestone, and dark shale, each representing different ancient environments from tropical seas to desert dunes. Geologists call it the living canyon because erosion happens so quickly you can literally watch the land change. Waterfalls cascade over crumbling ledges, rock slides reshape the walls, and the creek continues its relentless work of cutting deeper. Fact 14. The Missouri's hidden underwater towns. When engineers dammed the Missouri River in the 1950s to create Lake Oahe and other reservoirs, entire communities disappeared under the rising water. Farms, roads, schools, and even churches were flooded as the reservoirs filled. Beneath Lake Oahe lies the ghostly remains of these drowned towns. Now, archaeological sites preserved in cold, murky water. Old foundations, fences, and remnants of buildings still stand on the lake floor like an accidental Atlantis. For Native American tribes, the flooding was particularly devastating, displacing thousands of people and drowning sacred sites and burial grounds. Fact 13, the world's largest mountain carving. 17 miles from Mount Rushmore, another monument is getting built. One that will eclipse Rushmore entirely. The Crazy Horse Memorial, still under construction, will stand 563 feet high and 641 feet long, the largest mountain carving on Earth. Even unfinished, the scale is absurd. The warrior's face alone measures 87 feet tall, nearly 30 feet higher than any at Rushmore. Sculptor Korczak Ziolkowski began the project in 1948, invited by Lakota elder Henry Standing Bear, who said, "The red man has great heroes too." Ziolkowski's family continues the work today, refusing federal funding to keep it independent. A monument carved in stone, still waiting for completion, and perhaps always will be. Fact 12, the year South Dakota broke the thermometer twice. Okay, just to prove that the weather can be extreme on both ends of the scale in South Dakota, get this. In 1936, South Dakota experienced one of the most extreme weather years in American history. On February 17th, the temperature in McIntosh plummeted to minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest temperature ever recorded in the state. Then, less than 5 months later on July 5th, Gan Valley, sometimes spelled Gan Valley, hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit, setting the state's all-time heat record. That's a staggering 178-degree temperature range in a single year. Fact 11, the gold mine that became a city. Before it turned to science, Homestake Mine in Lead was the largest and deepest gold mine in the Western Hemisphere. For 126 years, miners descended more than 8,000 feet underground, through 370 miles of tunnels to pull gold from the rock. At its peak, over 2,000 men worked in constant heat, with temperatures reaching 130 degrees Fahrenheit at the lowest levels. Between 1876 and 2002, Homestake produced 40 million ounces of gold, worth billions today. It wasn't just a mine, it was an underground metropolis that built a town and defined an era. Fact 10, the state that occasionally shakes. Here's another example of how South Dakota defies expectations. Despite its seemingly peaceful geology, much of the state is situated on a fault system that is prone to earthquakes. Since the first recorded earthquake in 1872 near Sioux City, nearly 100 earthquakes have been documented in South Dakota, though most are too small to feel. In July 1934, a magnitude 4.3 earthquake rumbled from Chadron, Nebraska, with shaking felt as far as the Black Hills, strong enough to rattle dishes and wake sleeping residents. So while South Dakota's earthquakes are generally mild compared to states like California, they serve as reminders that the Great Plains aren't as geologically stable as they appear. Fact 9, the sand caves of Buffalo Gap. South Dakota has wind caves, sure, but near the southern Badlands, the wind itself is the cave maker. These fragile sandstone caves near Buffalo Gap aren't carved by water. Far from it. They're actually sculpted entirely by relentless prairie winds that reshape them constantly. So no two visits look the same. The soft sandstone erodes fast, creating arches, alcoves, and hollows that shift season by season. Locals call them living sculptures of the prairie, temporary art that nature keeps remodeling. The caves are unmarked and fragile, known mostly to ranchers and adventurous hikers willing to trek across rough terrain. You could say the wind really blew everyone away with its artistic skills. Fact 8, the Black Hills Gold Mystery. In 1874, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer found gold in the Black Hills. And the result? Thousands of prospectors swarming in like ants around ice cream. However, the problem was the U.S. had already promised that land to the Lakota Nation in the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. When the Lakota refused to sell, the government just took it away, leading to conflicts that ended with Custer's death at Little Bighorn. Fast forward to 1980, the Supreme Court ruled the seizure illegal and offered the Sioux Nation $106 million in compensation, now worth over $1 billion with interest. The Sioux said no. For over 40 years, they've refused the money. Their position? The Black Hills were never for sale, and they want the land back. Not a check. Fact 7, the White River Badlands. From a distance, the White River Badlands look like a painting. Beautifully striped cliffs glowing in shades of white, tan, pink, and rust. These layers represent 75 million years of sediment deposited when this region was a subtropical forest, then a savanna, then a semi-arid plain. The different colors mark different environments and time periods compressed into visible stripes. Beneath those colorful layers lies one of the richest fossil beds on the continent. Paleontologists have excavated entire extinct ecosystems layer by layer. Ancient horses, rhinos, saber-toothed cats, and bizarre pig-like creatures preserved in the sediment. Fact 6. The day 67 tornadoes hit at once. Talk about being overwhelmed. On June 24, 2003, South Dakota experienced one of the most intense tornado outbreaks in American history. 67 tornadoes touched down across the state in a single day, tying a U.S. record for the most tornadoes in one state in 24 hours. Although it was locally known as Tornado Tuesday, the outbreak was part of a larger system that produced 125 tornadoes across the region. Near Manchester, an F4 tornado became scientifically historic when it passed directly over an instrument probe deployed by storm researcher Tim Samaras. The probe recorded a pressure drop of 100 millibars in less than a minute, plunging to just 850 millibars, one of the lowest atmospheric pressures ever measured inside a tornado. Fact 5. The river that splits the state. The Missouri River doesn't just flow through South Dakota, it divides it into two distinct worlds. Locals refer to the two halves as East River, Sioux Falls, and West River, Rapid City, and they might as well be different states. East River is characterized by fertile farmland, small towns, and cornfields stretching to the horizon. West River is open range, cattle country, rugged badlands, and the Black Hills. Even the cultures differ. East River leans agricultural and Midwestern, while West River embraces ranching heritage and frontier independence. The accents shift, the weather patterns change, and the land transforms as you cross the Missouri. It's essentially an invisible border that defines identity, economy, and way of life across South Dakota. Fact 4. The Glacial Highway. Cutting through eastern South Dakota is an unusual feature that puzzles first-time visitors. The James River Valley, one of the flattest, widest river valleys in North America. Yet the river itself is tiny. The James River flows 710 miles through North and South Dakota. But this strange mismatch between the massive valley and modest river exists because the valley wasn't carved by the James River at all. During the last ice age, massive glaciers advanced and retreated across South Dakota at least twice, scouring out a deep, wide lowland. When the glaciers returned, they were funneled down this depression, squeezed between highlands to the east and west, deepening the valley even further. When the ice finally melted about 12,000 years ago, it left behind this oversized valley and rich glacial soils that now support some of South Dakota's most productive farmland, a panorama shaped by ice, not water. Fact 3. Where the Earth's crust cracked in two. The Black Hills Uplift is a geological dome that was thrust upward by a tectonic collision 60 million years ago, making it much more than just a mountain range. A huge dome that bulges up was created when the Laramide orogeny pushed the Rocky Mountains skyward. A pulse of that energy moved eastward and twisted the crust beneath what are now the Black Hills. The uplift tilts outward in all directions, exposing rocks from 7 different geologic eras in concentric rings. Stand in one valley and you can see more than 2 billion years of Earth's history laid out. Ancient granite at the core, surrounded by progressively younger sedimentary layers. Fact 2. The mountain that faces east. Did you know that every president carved into Mount Rushmore faces southeast? And this isn't random, it's careful design. Sculptor Gutzon Borglum angled them that way to capture maximum sunlight from dawn until dusk. This southeastern orientation ensures the faces glow with natural light throughout the day, preventing them from falling into shadow and giving them that iconic golden illumination tourists snag pictures of. It's a detail that transforms stone into something alive, as changing light throughout the day reveals different depths and expressions. Borglum understood that sculpture isn't just about shape, it's about how light interacts with form. Fact 1. The fossil river beneath the Badlands. Way below the Badlands' eroding cliffs runs a river that no longer flows. At least, not with water. The White River Group refers to 30-million-year-old fossil-rich sediments deposited when ancient rivers carried volcanic ash, mud, and the remains of countless creatures across prehistoric South Dakota. This buried river of fossilized sediment has yielded some of North America's most important prehistoric discoveries. ancient rhinos, saber-toothed cats, three-toed horses, and again those bizarre pig-like entelodonts that ruled the plains when South Dakota was a subtropical savanna. The fossil river doesn't flow anymore, but its sediments preserve an entire lost world, a window into an alien version of the prairie where different giants walked the land. What about 50 absurd facts about Montana that sound fake but aren't?